You've walked past that bird 100 times, never giving it a single second of your thought. It sits on the curb. You step right toward it. It waits 1 second, 2, then suddenly lifts off. It barely clears your shoulder at the last possible moment. You simply thought, urban pest. You assumed it was just something that stopped caring. But you were looking through the wrong lens. That tiny bird wasn't ignoring you. It was instantly running a complex threat geometry calculation. It was processing your approach speed, your body angle, and the acoustic signature of your steps. And it was doing all of that in a brain that has physically rewired itself over the last few decades.
It has radically changed its biology to survive a harsh world, a world no bird ever evolved for. Its hippocampus is actually larger than its forest cousins, measurably and documentably larger. Its vocal frequency has noticeably shifted upward, specifically to cut through thick urban noise. This mechanical noise would have silenced its ancestors. So no, the bird didn't just stop caring. It completely transformed. It became something its fragile ancestors simply weren't equipped to be. Stay with me right until the end, because the last thing I tell you, it won't be about birds at all.
Subscribe to the Invisible Courtyard. Now listen closely to the mechanism of how this acoustic landscape actually functions. A typical forest bird normally communicates using deeply low and wide sound frequencies. This gentle sound travels between ancient trees, bouncing softly off rough bark and leaves. It easily carries vital information across vast distances, keeping the landscape open. But a massive modern city produces a constant low-frequency wall of heavy, endless noise. Traffic and loud construction create a collective mechanical hum of heavy infrastructure. It vibrates through solid concrete, exactly where a bird signals danger and vital mating. The unbelievable and brutal truth is, the massive, growing city didn't just make it louder. It completely erased the natural channel, so the brave birds that survived sang much higher. They rapidly compressed their urgent calls into narrower and vastly sharper frequency bands. These adapted calls quickly pierce through concrete, exactly the way a sharp knife cuts static. This wasn't merely a conscious choice. This was rapid neurological adaptation across generations. Dedicated researchers at Leiden University carefully documented this remarkable new phenomenon. Urban great tits in Europe now seem noticeably higher than their quiet forest counterparts. The heavy, rushing city didn't wait for natural evolution, so evolution accelerated to keep up. And here is the chilling part that should stop you cold. This shift spans 20 bird species. It is strictly not an anomaly, but a fatal rule. The city rewrites the voice of every single species. But this drastic shift in vocal frequency is honestly only the surface of the truth. I need you to go deeper into the anatomy and look at what the city actually does. Urban birds show a noticeably larger hippocampal volume
compared to rural birds of the same species. This isn't a guess. It's a finding replicated across multiple independent scientific studies. Researchers have most notably documented this in detailed studies on house sparrows and great tits. The hippocampus strictly governs spatial memory and the complex ability of physical navigation.
It gives them the ability to hold a living map of a complex and constantly shifting environment. The massive city is a fatal problem that strictly demands constant and sharp spatial intelligence. Thousands of identical streets and glass facades, paired with highly unpredictable human movement. Food sources magically appear and suddenly vanish, and fatal threats emerge from impossible angles. Vehicles move at unheard speeds no predator ever reaches, turning the landscape into a lethal maze. The massive 40-story buildings offer vertical safety, but also fatal disorientation and invisible collision. The fragile birds that couldn't hold that mental map simply didn't survive long enough to safely breed. The resilient ones that could adapt passed the architecture of that larger hippocampus directly forward. This is absolutely not a pat metaphor. This is actual brain tissue being measured and documented. It is physically larger in the adapting birds that currently live right where you live today. But here is exactly where it gets deeply unsettling, because they don't just navigate differently. It's entirely about raw, unfiltered fear and what they have structurally learned to do with it. Think about this for a second. Your brain has been remapping itself. What is it costing you right now?
There is a hidden world happening right now, just beyond the glass. Subscribe, and let's keep watching together.
Urban birds don't just think differently. They manage fear differently. A bird is a prey animal. That is its foundational biological reality. Its entire sensory architecture, the lateral eye placement, the near 360-degree visual field, and the ability to process visual information significantly faster than the human eye, all of it is built around one central question. Where is the thing that will kill me? In a forest, that question has known answers. Specific sounds mean specific threats.
The alarm call of one species triggers the flight response of a dozen others. There is a shared acoustic language of danger. And it works because the landscape is stable enough to learn. In a city, the alarm never stops. The stimuli never resolve into safety. There is no moment when the nervous system can declare threat closed, threat gone. So urban birds develop what behavioral ecologists call masking, the suppression of visible stress signals. They learn not to display panic, not because they feel less, but because in a high-density environment, displaying weakness is itself a threat signal. It attracts attention. It marks you. The bird that looks calm isn't. It has learned to carry its fear invisibly. And here's what the research actually shows. Urban birds don't just survive at higher stress levels. In certain cognitive tests, they outperform their rural counterparts. By some measures, they are smarter. And that should make you feel something, because the thing that made them smarter
is the same thing that is costing them their physiology. Stay with me.
If you're ready to decode the secret language outside your window, subscribe to the Invisible Courtyard. You live inside a continuous acoustic landscape that your nervous system was not designed to process. You mask. You compress. You have learned to hold your distress in frequencies no one around you can hear anymore. You navigate a spatial environment of such complexity that your brain is remapping itself right now, continuously, to keep up with a world your ancestors never built for. You process threat signals.
A tone in a message, a silence where a sound should be, the slight hesitation in someone's voice at a pace no forest would ever demand. And you do it without stopping, without naming it, without rest. The birds didn't become indifferent. They become efficient. And efficiency, at that cost, at that sustained level of sensory load, is not the same thing as strength. It is adaptation.
And adaptation always carries a price. The organism doesn't get to negotiate. And there is one more thing, something the research found that almost no one talks about. Urban birds, the ones that adapted most successfully, show elevated cortisol levels, even in moments of complete safety. Their physiology no longer knows how to stop preparing for threat, even when there is nothing there. There is a species of sparrow in San Francisco, the Nuttall's white-crowned sparrow. It has been studied continuously since the 1960s, across 6 whole decades. The drastic shift in its vocal frequency over that period is measurable and consistent. And according to the dedicated researchers who studied it, it is actually still accelerating. In exactly 60 short years, it completely changed its voice to survive a harsh world. It transformed its foundational biology to exist in a concrete world it never built. I honestly don't know what you have forced to change about yourself to survive yours.
But I deeply think, and I think some hidden part of you grieves it continuously. You grieve it quietly and invisibly, entirely in the harsh frequencies no one hears anymore. That is absolutely not a sign of weakness. That is merely the heavy cost of remaining functional. It is the true price of surviving inside a landscape that was never designed for your biology. If this deeply landed somewhere real for you, tell me exactly what you changed in the comments. Share this with someone who has been quiet lately. They need to know the mechanism has a name. There is a hidden world happening right now, just beyond the glass. Subscribe, and let's keep watching together.